Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Kelly Healing Project. So, today's episode is going to be on why your nervous system resists change. But first of all, before I get started, I wanted to thank everybody for their patience with me while I was recovering. I had surgery. It wasn't anything major, but I had surgery. And it was about 11 or 12 days ago. So I've been recovering and I haven't been recording a lot because, well, first of all, I had a gum graft and a frenectomy, if I'm saying that correctly. And for people who don't know, a frenectomy is basically it's removing or cutting, getting rid of a phloem and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Like, guys, once again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dentist, but so the phloem is a piece of connective tissue that connects basically the lip to like your jaw. Or to your gum. Okay, that's probably a better way of saying it. And in some people, this phloem is this piece of connective tissue can be higher than it's supposed to be. And if you have something like a retainer, so I had braces a couple years ago. If you have a retainer, I had a retainer on the bottom, and I noticed after I got the braces off in the retainer, I noticed some I don't know, almost like some pulling kind of thing and almost like pressure. It's because my retainer it's putting pressure on that because it's technically too high up. It's always been that way and it really needed to be. And if you cut it, it'll grow back, but it'll grow back lower down where it should be. So that's one thing that I had to do because that phloem was causing the gum recession because basically it was pulling on my gum, so it was pulling it down, so some of my gum was starting to recede on one tooth, and it wasn't anything bad. But on my healing journey, this is what I've learned. I have learned that I need to put myself first, and it's about putting my health first, and I take things like my teeth very seriously. I'm very, I've never had a cavity. I'm 40 years old, never had a cavity. Like, I take that stuff very seriously. I like to take care of my body. It's your temple. I mean, God gave me this body. I'm going to take care of it. And I feel like a lot of people don't. They somehow think that they're not worthy, or they think, well, I just made it happen, because what you don't make time for, this is turning into a whole different episode, but that's okay. But I wanted to talk about this firsthand. But what you don't make time for now, especially if it's something in your health, you will, if you don't make time for your sickness now, you will have to make time for your illness later. And the same thing goes even for eating and working out. Is it hard going in the gym and lifting weights? Yes, it is. But let me tell you something. The older I get, the more I'm like, okay, I don't want to be like one of those people that slowly, they become more frail as they get older. Granted, I'm not that old, but, I want to pour into my cup, take care of my body. So that way I can, I just have to maintain and I have to keep it that way. And you know what? It's become fun. Even working out has become fun. I've worked out started lifting weights almost 2 years ago with a personal trainer. And it's been amazing. It's been great. And, was it hard? It was sometimes during those sessions, I was like, why did I sign up for this? But it was fine. But I kept moving forward. I kept making the appointment. And if I just showed up, likely he planned out the rest, but if I just showed up, then that's what I had to do. He told me what to do it, and just do it. But it helps tremendously. Anyways, but that's right. But if you have an issue, but this was me in the past. In the past, I didn't prioritize myself. I thought it was selfish or something, because I had smaller kids, and then I'd think, well, do we even have the money So no, I'd put it off, blah, blah, blah. Now I don't even bat an eye. Hey, and I'm usually the one that brings it up, certain things. Hey, I've noticed this. Is this a problem? What do you think? Well, actually, and I found out, oh, that's why. And it makes so much sense. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go ahead and take care of it. And so just make the appointment and just go. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be this much. All right, whatever, we're going to figure it out. And in the past, I used to panic and be like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. Whatever, we're going to we're going to figure it out. We're going to find a way, and it's going to be okay. And I felt so at peace even when I did it. And here I am. I'm still healing. Guys, I have to wear a stent to cover the roof of my mouth where the donor site was, to protect that site while it heals for 3 weeks total. It's been like a week and a half, I think. So it's been an interesting journey. And but I know that it's going to be worth. Is it going to suck during it? Sometimes it does. Yeah, it's not really that fun because too I'm on I have diet restrictions right now. I can't just eat whatever I want. But this has been great though. I'll be honest. This has given me time to really focus on, like I said, on my health. And when you can only eat protein shakes for a while and you don't really want to eat a lot of soft foods, you tend to drop a lot of inflammation related to carbs. And I know people like everything in moderation. Yeah, I totally get it. But I feel like there's a lot of this American diet. It's just there's so much sugar. There's so many carbs. There's so much processed foods. We snack all the time. It's not healthy. And anybody can see it. I mean, you can look at the numbers. You can see the statistics. It's not. This is not new knowledge. What I'm speaking on is known facts. We are some of the most unhealthiest people around. And but it's given me a time to really sit here and work through even my own belief systems and my own of like, oh, Kelly. Sometimes I would use food as a crutch. And I think somehow in a way, I found a way to make myself small. My mom used to do this, dude. She did. I used to see her, my mom, she was on disability pretty much for most of my life. She probably got on disability when I was 5 or 6. I mean, like it was, because of her PTSD, because of the abuse that she experienced. She had a hard time functioning in general in most of society. Like I look back, I genuinely do feel bad for her because I mean, like deep down, she was just a scared child. And I'm so sorry if this thing is whistling. It may be because my stent but we're just rolling with it. So my apologies if there's a little noise in the background. I'll try not to do that, guys. I'm trying my best. But for a while I couldn't really no excessive mouth movement, so sometimes I wasn't talking a lot. But now I feel like I'm well enough to talk. So talk more and express more. But anyways. Back to what I was talking about, my mother. My God, she was on disability and she would sit at home and she would watch just TV constantly. The TV was always on. And I think, but also she would sit there and she would eat like gallons of ice cream. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of ice cream that she would eat. She would almost use sugar as a crutch, almost to regulate her nervous system. I don't know if she was probably making herself small, just like I used to. But that's beside the point. So I didn't really learn a lot of healthy. This episode is turning to something completely different. And that's probably okay. I didn't really learn a lot of healthy eating habits from her. What I saw on a day-to-day basis was basically just binging. And then she would wonder why she couldn't lose the weight when she'd be on her treadmill. But there's a quote that you can't outrun a bad diet. You can't. If you're taking in way too many calories and way too much sugar, you can't outrun it. And your body shows. What you eat in private, you wear in public. Like, it shows. And it's nothing to shame people. It's just, anybody can work on their body. Anybody can work on their diet. It's no secret. And don't let a lot of mainstream, just even the diet industry fool you. They'll be like, oh, well, your metabolism's going to slow down. Have you ever freaking seen a prisoner of war come out after being starved for maybe, after not having a lot of food for 2 weeks and they're fatter? No, it's not that hard. You don't have to take in excess calories. But if these people can somehow mind control you and tell you different things that are not true, you will be a customer for life. Just like the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of this stuff. Their goal is to not heal you and to tell you stuff because they can't make any money off of that. That's besides the point. You can believe whatever the hell you want to. That's perfectly fine. But, these are facts, guys. But whatever. But a lot of people live in their own delusional world. It's not my job to really necessarily change people. I will put what I have. I'm one of the truth seekers. I really sit there and study things and what do I feel about it? Okay, let me research this. What does this say? What have I experienced in my life? And that's how I come up to what I have experienced as truth. I don't just take what any mainstream narrative that has been shoved down my throat. I am not a sheep. Okay, I will never be a sheep. I can learn. I am a strong, independent person, and I can fucking think for myself, and I can do my own research. And I feel like a lot of people need to step into this power because it is power. Because a lot of times when you're playing into that, when you're constantly watching the news and giving your time and attention to other things, and you're letting other people decide shit for you, you are out of alignment and you are not in your power. It's funny. Everybody has an opinion, but you don't, who cares? You don't need to hear everybody's opinion. People, people can put a title at the end of their name and say whatever the hell they want. That doesn't mean you have to believe them. That doesn't mean that you have to believe them. But anyways, this has been a beautiful journey for me. And I'm so grateful I did it. Fortunately, right now I'm in the midst of it, but it's teaching me things. And with everything that I go through, I view it as a lesson and a way to get better. And because I give it that meaning, that's exactly what I get out of it. Whatever meaning you give something is what you get out of it. And what most people don't realize is that you really are the creator of your own life. And so many people, they have these mindsets that are so disempowering, that are so outdated, that are, I don't know if outdated is the right word, but that are so, they're not in alignment with their true, authentic self. If you want to be in alignment with your true, authentic self, you have to do what kind of makes you happy, what lights you up. If it doesn't make you happy, most likely it's coming from somebody else, and somebody else is trying to put either their own projections, their own insecurities, their own thoughts, their own belief systems on you. Even if it's a parent, don't let them do it. Because parents can be the worst violators of this. I have learned, even with my kids, to step back. To be there for them and guide them. But let them be their own individual self. I don't know. We have way too many kids that are so afraid to speak up in this world because they're afraid their parents are going to beat their ass. Excuse the language. We do not need more fear pumped into people. If you truly want to get into alignment to what is higher vibrations, higher frequency, it's about love. God, the universe, the creator, whatever the hell you believe, is love. Why are you going to pump your kids full of fear? I never quite understood that. And so it's my job as a parent to make sure my kids feel loved and accepted. It's not about fitting into their box. It's never been about fitting into them into a box. But it's about being there to support them and creating a generation and breaking that generational curse of, of fear, of God, just everybody having PTSD. My mom had PTSD. I'm sure her mom had PTSD. I had complex PTSD. They may have had complex PTSD. I don't know. I wasn't her doctor. I didn't sit in the room with her. But I sure as hell knew that she reverted back to a childlike state a lot of times. And she made me like I had to be the parent, not only for myself, but for her as well. But you know what? That crap made me a hell of a lot stronger. And I've tapped in my power, and I'm one bad A person. I'm trying my best not to cuss, but I look at all the things that I've been through, and I look at what I made out of it, and I'm so proud of me. And not everybody has been aware of what I've been doing, because I've been doing this behind closed doors, and I've been working on myself, and I'm, almost in that hermit mode where I've been, isolated, because I need to work through this stuff. I need to work through the people pleasing. I need to work through all of this stuff. I don't need to be surrounded by a bunch of people. I need to focus on me first. And then when it's time, when I've done the proper amount of healing, I can come out. And I'm going to have to reintroduce myself to the whole world, because people are going to be like, that's not the old you. I know sure as hell it's not. Look at me now. I am amazing. And I can tell that my energy has shifted, because when you walk in with a healed energy, your aura is so open, it's so big, it's so expansive, and people can feel that, even if they can't quite, they're not spiritual and they can't quite tell you, oh, they know it, because you become so magnetic, because you carry in your body that healed energy. It's extremely magnetic. I don't even have to do anything, because I've done a lot of the work behind closed doors, and it shows in my energy and how I show up. Anyways, that's besides the point. Okay. But I wanted to share that, and I wanted to, I know I got off on a little tangent, but I wanted to really thank you and thank everybody who's listening and tuning in. I wanted to thank you for your patience while I healed. It's something that I didn't discuss before, but, just kind of been figuring it out as I go day by day. And, the more I kind of researched and, went through it, the more I'm like, oh, I really shouldn't talk a lot. At least for the first, week, or the first few days, because it's no excessive mouth movements. There have been so many restrictions and just different things. But I take this stuff seriously. Like, when I go in, I never half-ass anything. When I go into something, like, I go in with my whole ass. There you go. But I go in with all of me. Like, I give it all my time and attention to. I'm not one of those, I'm not a, quote, lazy person. Like, I really go in with everything. And they gave me a whole folder of papers, and I went through and God highlighted the stuff that was important. I've read those papers front and back. I've probably called that office so many times. They're probably still hearing from me. But, I want to ensure that everything goes smoothly, because I'm now at a point where I take my health seriously. I'm doing a healing. I have a healing business. Like, this is important to me, to take care of your health. You can't just push your health and needs aside. Well, I don't know how, I'll find a way. I'll make a way. I used to not prioritize myself first, but now I want to take care of me. I deserve it. I have unconditional love for myself, because I've learned to pour into my cup. And once you have that, you truly learn to pour into your cup and to give to you. But that's another lesson in itself. So you can take that, with a grain of salt, whatever you want. But let's get into it. So let's talk more about why your nervous system will resist a change. So sometimes the reason you're not moving forward isn't necessarily laziness, lack of desire, or lack of potential. Sometimes your nervous system simply does not feel safe in the new reality you say you want. So basically, you've heard the saying, or even people can say stuff like, well, if you want something badly enough, you naturally move towards it. That's not necessarily the case, but healing work often reveals the mind may want growth while the nervous system can perceive it as unsafe. So this can create internal conflict. So examples of this can include visibility, like wanting visibility, but avoiding posting. Wanting love, but pushing people away. Wanting success, but procrastinating. Wanting peace, but creating chaos. Wanting rest, but feeling guilty for slowing down. So your nervous system prioritizes familiarity over happiness. So a lot of time, like I said, your nervous system will want what is familiar. Your brain, nervous system, its main job is to keep you alive. And there are a lot of things in this world that your brain or your nervous system can perceive as threats that are not necessarily threats. Like when I was growing up, guys, as I've already discussed, I didn't have a weapon put at my head. Let's just say that. Like, it wasn't that intense. Like, I wasn't in that. And I know there are some people that are, my mom was unstable, but damn, she wasn't that unstable. But there are some people, even if you heard Tony Robbins, like him talk about how his mom tried to, put like drain cleaner down his throat or something. Like, my mother was not that abusive. She was abusive, but she wasn't to the point where she was physically doing something that could harm me in that way. However, being in her presence, you did not feel like you were safe. Not necessarily there was a gun, I was trying not to use, but not necessarily that there was a weapon, but that you didn't feel physically safe. I mean, like I said, my first memory was getting slapped in the face for absolutely no reason. And I think she felt pretty guilty after that. And she didn't really use a lot of physical means like slap, like that. I am pretty sure that was the only time that I was ever slapped by her. But still, that sticks with you when you're 5 years old and you're just playing at your friend's house. She comes to pick you up and she slaps you across the face because you didn't come out of the house quick enough. Because heaven forbid you have to actually interact with people. She had horrible social anxiety and I totally get it because, I myself coming from my environment, that first memory, I pretty much gave the meaning that I was pretty much alone and I wasn't safe with anybody because she was a single mom. I didn't have anybody else. I didn't have any siblings. And I thought, wow, I'm just alone. And so I viewed other people as unsafe because the first apparent adult that you're supposed to trust, the first adult that you really get close to, you find that you can't trust them. So I've learned not to trust people. I learned to close myself off. I had a broken heart for most of my life based upon that. And I've learned to heal it and learned to trust people. Which it's been great, but it's almost like I've had so much around my heart, like almost, like walls, barbed wire, whatever around my heart to protect me, to keep myself safe. But now I see I don't need to do that. That's besides the point. I'm getting off track here. But my nervous system didn't feel safe. I wasn't really safe to express my feelings because when I did, they were just constantly invalidated. I was shamed for things. So when someone uses that against you, it can really make your nervous system feel like you are not safe and you are not protected. So if that has ever happened to you, then you are, for the most part, your nervous system learned that vulnerability was not safe. So you will have a hard time when you start to step forward and step into your power and start doing things that really, even for me, you're being called to and to move forward with. And but basically, your nervous system will prioritize familiarity over happiness. But sometimes, like I said, it's supposed to, your brain and your nervous system are trying to make you feel protected, feel safe. And there are times where you're not physically in any danger, but your nervous system can kind of override that and be like, no, that's not familiar. We haven't experienced that before. But just because you haven't experienced something before does not necessarily mean that it's, it's unsafe. A lot of times, especially with me, and on this wonderful, long healing journey I've been on, I have done a lot of journaling and introspection and working through things and thinking. It's almost like I have to look at it from an outside, third-party perspective, because a lot of times you become so connected to the emotions at that point, and it's almost like you embody those emotions, or you somehow make those are almost like egoic personification, where you take on certain aspects of those emotions as your almost personality, but really it's not you. Even the shame, because a lot of abusers will shame you, and you'll take on that emotional role of shame and feel like at the bottom of the core that you are a bad person, but you're not. A lot of times it is that person who feels a lot of shame about what they're doing to you, and then they're projecting that onto you, which is not right in any aspect and never should be. But a lot of times narcissistic people, yeah, they get exposed eventually. They do, and they can't stay that way forever, and people see right through it. But sometimes when people are young, when somebody is young and they don't know any better, they won't see it. But just wait. As these narcissistic people get older, I mean, yeah, nobody falls for them, and they end up being alone for most of their life. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay with me, because at the end of the day, you have a choice of the energy that you embody. And if you want to embody different energy, you can. If somebody doesn't feel good around you, why are they going to want to spend more time with you, if that makes sense? And this happened as I got older with my mother. My mother shamed me a lot. She guilted me and stuff. Just constant using things against me. Why am I going to be around somebody who makes me feel bad? Even though deep down I didn't quite understand what was going on. All I knew is how I felt around her. And then I could see how I felt around other people. Other people didn't make me feel that way. So in the end, I didn't really want to be around her a lot, especially when I got older. When you get older and you're in college, you're doing your own thing, you're working, you got a boyfriend, I don't know, you may not want to spend a lot of time around family, and that's perfectly okay because you're doing your own thing. But yeah, she didn't like that. But it's not my problem. It's not my problem. So this is another lesson, as you need to own your energy. If people don't like being around you, if you don't genuinely make people feel good, people don't remember the things you say. They remember how you made them feel. And if you don't make them feel very good about themselves, they're not going to want to be around you. So don't expect, if you make your kids feel horrible, and you project stuff and you treat them very toxic, yeah, they're not going to be around you when they get older. They're not going to come around. And don't be shocked by it. Don't be shocked by it. Don't. Okay, so these are core ideas, but basically why your nervous system resists change, here is one thing. Like I've said, familiar pain versus unfamiliar growth. So basically, sometimes people stay in burnout, in toxic relationships, in overworking, in self-doubt, in emotional chaos, in people-pleasing, not because they enjoy suffering, but because it feels known. It's what is known to them. The nervous system says, at least I know how to survive here. Meanwhile, peace feels unfamiliar. Visibility feels unsafe. Success feels exposing. Healthy love feels vulnerable. And slowing down feels threatening. That's why healing can feel uncomfortable, even when it's good for us. So your nervous system may not choose familiar suffering over unfamiliar freedom until safety is created internally. And there's a lot of things that you can do to try to create this internal environment of safety. It can include things like just regulating your nervous system, guys. The vagus nerve is so important. I talked about this on other podcasts. The vagus nerve is extremely important, and the vagal tone is extremely important. But you need to learn to do that, and a lot of it comes through certain things like moving your body, and it could be other things like humming, singing, dancing, just other things like that. But basically, it's regulating your nervous system, a lot of breathing, even meditating, a lot of things that even make you feel good. And going out in nature can help tremendously. But your nervous system, if it doesn't feel safe, it's not going to want to likely step out of it. It's not to say that you can't override it, but your nervous system will prioritize familiarity over something new. And another thing that's why basically why your nervous system resists change is fear of success. So many people think that they fear failure, but often they fear 1, being seen, 2, you could fear judgment, 3, responsibility, 4, expectations, 5, change, 6, losing relationships, 7, becoming different, 8, standing out. So success can subconsciously feel dangerous because visibility once led to criticism. Speaking up once led to rejection, and achievement once created pressure. Being authentic once felt unsafe. Sometimes success threatens the identity your nervous system has learned to survive inside. And this was me to a T. I'm sure I still have a little bit of that fear, of success. Like I said, it's a lot of it is stepping out and fully being seen for me, because for so long I myself have isolated myself. I feel like I had to do the isolation for a time. I needed to isolate myself. I needed to get rid of the people pleasing. And a lot of times when you do healing, it requires a lot of energy. And so you need to pull that energy back. And whatever you focus on is where you're putting your time, your attention, your energy. And if you're putting it a lot on other people, it's flowing away from you. I needed that energy to flow to me because I needed to work through these things, and I needed to get through because ultimately, I've always kind of known my path. And the more, work that I've done, the more that I sat there with myself and my ways, the more I've become more in tune to my purpose, the more that I've started to listen to my intuition. And I've always had very strong intuition. I've always been so deep, and a lot of people just, I felt like a lot of people never truly got me, because I don't thrive on that surface level stuff. I thrive like on the deep, meaningful conversations about, what are you doing in your life? How are you growing? How are you getting better? How are you becoming a better version of yourself? That's what I thrive on. Like, I love those deep, meaningful conversations, not surface level conversations, and going out and drinking and doing things that really just, they add nothing to your life. And I really don't understand it. And I don't know. But, if it works for you, then you do you. But for me, this is what's been me. This is me. And I learned that being authentic felt unsafe because, hell, my mother would just, she was just a character. She would constantly invalidate me. And, oh, no, you shouldn't feel that way. You should be ashamed of yourself. I had nothing to be ashamed of. She took money from me. She was very manipulative and, and just very me kind of person, and not, just, hey, how are you feeling? How are you truly doing? Like, I guess I never understood that from her. I don't understand how she could be that way. I mean, I always talk to my kids, and I'm like, how are you doing? Like, not just like, are you okay? But like, hey, are you doing okay? How are you handling things? Like, is anything okay? Like, is everything okay? Are you struggling? Are you, like, how are you in your headspace? How are you mentally? Are you doing good? What do you need? How can I support you? That's at least what I do with my kids. I'm like, okay. But I'm not like a micro parent. I don't need to micromanage. I mean, it's, it is what it is. But I genuinely want to make sure you're okay. But fear of success. I've had this for so long, and I am still kind of getting over it. I feel like for the most part, I've broken through a lot of things, but I'm sure that there's still some residual blockages or beliefs or fears there that I need to fully work through. And I accept that. And I know that healing, there's never a point where you're fully done. Like, it's a constant, like, just, okay, I've done this. All right, I'll work through this. Okay, I'll work through this. You'll work through something, you feel great, and then something else comes up. And then, okay, got to clear that. All right, got to work through that. And it's just it's a battle. And then I used to worry about judgment. People judging me. And now I'm at the point where I don't give a, all right, I try to watch my language. I don't care. I care how I'm going to feel deep down the line. If I'm sitting on my deathbed and I didn't fully step into my power, and I didn't fully step into this path that I'm being called to do and to lead, I'm going to be so disappointed in myself because I cared so much about what others would think. So I really don't care. And I've learned to accept me for who I am, and to really sit there with myself and go, who am I? Because also, when you're in a household that just constantly, you serve another person, you become that parent and you serve that person constantly, and it's all about them, you never even have the opportunity to learn who you are. Because, and I did a podcast about this, talking about how your needs, it was about reclaiming your needs, how a lot of your needs are not met growing up in a toxic household. And your need for being allowed to be your own individual is never met, because being that individual is a threat to the family dynamic, because they're making it all about them. It's almost like you were there to serve them, and that's the way my mother made it. It's like I wasn't allowed to be my own individual. So when I got to be in my adulthood, especially after I left my ex-husband, I really was able to, who am I? Like, what truly am I? And the more that I learn and the more that I search, I really enjoy myself. I enjoy my company. Like, I really do. If anything, I enjoy being with myself, by myself, more than I probably do being with other people. But I know that can probably be a trauma response as well. But I genuinely love my company because I'm such a free spirit. Like, I'm happy. Like, I look on the bright side of things always. Even when I was in the depths of what felt like hell, I still would look on the bright side of I'm gonna get through this. I'm always gonna get through this because I always rise above. And guess what? I always fucking do because I amaze myself and I keep amazing myself. And the older I get, and the more stuff that I do, I'm like, dang, girl, you are incredible. But that can be you. This is not some sort of thing where I'm like, keeping this secret. It's all about mindset too. And most people are like, well, I don't believe in that mindset stuff. Well, you haven't. Which is fine. It's not my job to convince everybody that this is the right path. But I will show you the way, so it's not a secret. I will teach you because that's my purpose here. I came here to get really broken, to learn to fix myself, and then to teach others the lessons that I've learned on this long healing journey, and to share this deep shamanic wisdom with people. This deep, deep wisdom of stuff. Like, I constantly have ideas that throw in my head. I constantly have messages that come to me, like inspirational messages that, like, I'm like, okay, like it's I feel like truly it's a gift, and I love it because life is truly beautiful, and it's all about the way that you look at life. It's funny how you can have the same world and you can have so many different people experience so many different realities because it's all about their perspective, their beliefs, the meanings that they assign things, and how they view things. I don't know, but I don't know about you, but I love when things like, when you have these quote tower moment, however you want to believe it, but you have these moments where it feels like your life is crumbling. I freaking love those moments because every time I have something like that happen, I always come out better. And I'm like, so and I love it. I thrive in chaos because most of my life, even the weather, like, I love thunderstorms because, like, I feel like my whole life has been a damn storm. And I thrive in that chaos, and I love it. I kind of love that aspect of it, but now my life used to feel chaotic. It doesn't, I'm at peace, my inner world, but I love when things like that happen. Like, I love that because hell, I've been through so much. I can survive anything. I really don't, I don't let things like that bother me, but fear of success. A lot of people have fear of success, and that will prevent them from moving forward. Because if you have some sort of belief or some sort of block, it doesn't matter the actions that you will take. You will somehow self-sabotage that by not posting a lot, by whatever. But you need to work through that. Let go of your fear of success, which can be the fear of being seen, the fear of judgment, the fear of responsibility, the fear of expectations, and also expectations. That's me too. Like, wow, once I do get successful, people are going to expect a lot of me. Can I keep up? But I know I can. And the responsibility, this is more responsibility on me. I need to maintain this. Am I going to do a good job? That kind of thing. And change, but also losing relationships. I feel like I don't really have a lot of relationships, so that's cool. But becoming different. I am different. I'm an Aquarius. If you follow astrology, I'm an Aquarius moon and Aquarius rising. In Aquarius Jupiter, Jupiter in the first house. I've studied astrology, and astrology is a lot of fun. And guys, by the way, I have an astrologist that's going to be coming on the podcast next month, which I am so flippin' excited about. I cannot wait. Oh my God. But next month I have several guests coming on my podcast. I really, even when I was covering, I've had a lot of emails and people wanting to be on my podcast. So I'm going to start, now that I'm start recording again, I'm going to start getting out there and, having guests on my podcast. And I'm really so excited. I'm going to do about one a week, but, I genuinely, like I said, when I do something, I don't half-a it, I go all in. So when I have somebody on my podcast, I want to be able to research and kind of, okay, are these questions good? Am I comfortable with this? Asking these questions, am I well prepared? I want to be well prepared because I want to do a good job. But that's really exciting, but I'm like booked out for like the next, several weeks, which is amazing. And I'm really so thankful. And I'm so glad for the community, for the people listening, just everything, because I want to take, I transmute. I basically take something that was just ugly to begin with, abuse and narcissism, complex PTSD, and I turn it into something beautiful. It's become my power, and it's become a way for me to teach others to basically show them that just because this happened to you doesn't mean that that's the person you are, and it doesn't mean that that's how your life has to be going forward. So next thing is fear of visibility. So this is a big one. This is another reason of why maybe your nervous system, basically is trying to resist change. So basically it's trying to protect you, is fear of visibility. So, this could show up in certain ways of wanting to create content, but freezing. And freezing is that trauma response, guys. And I was all too well familiar with the freeze trauma response. All too familiar. Another way is feeling exposed online. Fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being too much, or shrinking to stay emotionally safe. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen my series on taking your power back, but I used to struggle with this fear of being too much. I used to make myself small, and I will no longer do that. And if you don't like what I have to say, it's perfectly okay. I'm not here to be everybody's cup of tea. I used to sit around and, let's not piss anybody off. I don't purposely try to piss people off, but I will not keep my mouth shut just because you don't like what I have to say. I shouldn't have to silence myself. If you don't like what I have to say, then most likely you're probably not tuning into this podcast anyways, which is fine. Whoever's meant to find it will find it. All I have to do is put it out there. I don't force things. I'm a very free spirit. I don't force people, to try. I basically do the work, and I become the example, and I tell other people how I did it. So if they want to do it, they can do it too. But, it's not some sort of secret. But you can have this beautiful life too. I promise you, everything you want is internally. Anyways, I feel like I'm getting off the sidetrack. But like I said, fear of being too much, fear of being misunderstood. I feel like I've been misunderstood my whole life, and that's perfectly okay. I know who I am, and fear of criticism and judgment. But that kind of comes in with the fear of visibility a fear of success as well. It basically ties into that. But if you work through these emotional blocks, these mindsets, all of this stuff, it will, I promise you, it will get easier. And a lot of things, if you really want to go out there and put yourself out there and go do something, and it requires making content and posting, the more that you post, the easier it becomes. But if you don't post a lot, you'll get in your own head and you'll kind of but I promise you, the more that I do it, the easier it becomes. And it was like, it's like you tend to make it very complicated when it doesn't have to be. If you want to find a problem, you will find a problem. So stop looking for a problem because you're creating problems, if that makes sense. If you look for something, your brain will find it. Your brain is an unbelievable machine. And if you have control over it, it can be your greatest asset. And if you don't, it will be your greatest liability. It truly will. But if you can control your mind and your thoughts, it's truly game over. Because your brain, what you tell it, it believes is true. Even if it's something that hasn't happened yet, it will believe that it's true, and you'll live in that reality. So how about you start telling it things that, like, that you want to happen, if that makes sense. A lot of us, we tend to worry about things, and then we wonder why the very thing we worried about actually happens. A lot of this stuff is interconnected, and we can't see it energetically, and we can't see it. But a lot of things, when you have a thought, it puts out something into the field, like into this unseen energetic field, and you end up attracting that to you. So instead of manifesting what you don't want, how about you start manifesting what you do want? Start thinking about how great life could be. I somehow say affirmations even in my car. Like, I'll say, why does everything work out for me? Why is everything so easy? Everything just works out. Everything is so easy. I get things for free. Everything is so, like, just these, like these affirmations that just talk about how easy and amazing life is. Life is so free. Life is so, blah, blah, blah. Like, just, well, I don't believe it. Well, just start saying it. If you start saying it every day, your brain will start to believe it. But that's where most people miss it. They're like, oh, they don't change the internal world because they don't see the external world changing. But if you once you change the inner world, then the external world will start to change. But I told people this, and they just don't believe it. So some people just aren't ready for it, and you know what? That's perfectly okay. Maybe when you are ready for it, you will hear this, and then you'll be like, you know what? That's right. But fear of visibility. Like I said, visibility is not just a mindset issue. For many people, it's a nervous system issue. And why people self-sabotage? So self-sabotage is often protection disguised as resistance. Examples can include procrastination, disappearing when things go well, overthinking, perfectionism, staying small, picking emotionally unavailable people, quitting before success, constantly restarting. So the nervous system may think, if I do not fully step forward, I cannot fully be hurt. So hopefully this helps you understand yourself with less shame. But procrastination, and I've done this too. Well, I'll just do it later. Or disappearing when things go well. You ever try to date somebody and then it goes really well and then they just disappear? Yeah. They're self-sabotaging. They're not ready to fully open themselves up. They have a lot of fear about vulnerability and being their true authentic self and letting love come in. And I think a lot of people, they don't love themselves, so they can't truly love another person. And then you can't also, if you have somebody that doesn't believe in themselves, how the hell are they going to believe in you? This is all once somebody does that, does the work, then it truly is, it's a game changer. It changes the whole freaking game. And people can sense it. But even overthinking and perfectionism, that is self-sabotage. When you're putting up resistance, because you have blocks, you have certain belief systems. You have a belief system that says, no, I'm not safe here. I can't move forward. And you will keep hitting that belief until you work through it. And if you truly want to move forward, you have to work through this belief system. Your body will somehow self-sabotage. Somehow it will make something wrong. And staying small. Picking emotionally unavailable people. Quitting before success, yes. And constantly restarting. I mean, a lot of these ways that people self-sabotage. So you want to do it, but there's still some resistance there. You need to work through these emotional blocks. I promise you, it will get better. But it takes time, because if you've experienced trauma for most of your life, and you've worked on healing it, it's going to feel so crazy when you finally work through those belief systems because you've had them for so long, especially when you were a child. I'm so sorry for the feedback, guys. Like, I think it's the scent that's causing the wisp. But anyways, but you've had it for so long. So it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but I promise you, it is so worth it. So nervous system conditioning. So if somebody grew up with unpredictability, criticism, emotional neglect, pressure, chaos, or instability, their nervous system may associate rest with laziness, peace with danger, visibility with threat, boundaries with rejection, and success with pressure. So healing is not just thinking positively. It often involves creating safety, slowing down, regulating the body, repetition, self-compassion, and learning new emotional patterns. So basically, healing is not forcing yourself into a new life through shame and pressure. It is teaching your mind, body, and nervous system that it's finally safe to experience peace, visibility, love, rest, and success. But nervous system conditioning. I mean, your nervous system is conditioned by your environment and when people interact with you, what happens. So my early childhood environment was very unpredictable. Emotional neglect, definitely. There was chaos, instability, criticism, all of that stuff. And somehow all of that stuff was projected onto me, and I was made to feel like I was the bad person and the bad child. And I was blamed for a lot of it. So for most of my life, I've had a hard time resting. I felt like I always had to constantly prove myself. But now I'm okay with resting. And now I'm able to have peace. I'm finally able to be okay with being visible. And I'm okay with, I definitely have boundaries. And I'm okay with creating success and having success. But this involves, like I said, it often involves creating safety, slowing down, regulating the body, repetition. A lot of this stuff is learned through repetition. If you have enough circumstances or enough situations that prove that what you once learned is no longer true, then you will have different belief systems and different ways of relating to your environment and your perspective on life and your environment. But you have to do that, but you also have to practice self-compassion. You have to be compassionate towards yourself and love yourself, and learning new emotional patterns. But also, let me say that your resistance does not always mean you are broken. Sometimes it means your nervous system is trying to protect a version of you that once needed protection. However, and most likely it doesn't need protection anymore. So, but also, are you supposed to push through this? When you have this resistance, are you supposed to push through it? But really, there's a difference between gently stretching your nervous system into growth versus repeatedly overriding it through pressure, shame, and survival. So growth does require a little discomfort at times. But healing is usually more effective when the nervous system feels supported and not attacked. So someone who is terrified of visibility, pushing through by forcing themselves to post 20 videos while panicking internally, may reinforce that being seen is unsafe. But slowly building safety, like posting consistently in manageable ways, like posting one video a day, or, even if you just work on it, okay, one video, I know, it depends on you, and then regulate before and after posting, grounding the body, allowing the imperfection. Even if you mess up, just post it anyways. Most of the people are never going to see it. Surviving this discomfort and also realizing that I'm okay. It helps the nervous system adapt. Never. So the goal is not never feel discomfort, because sometimes discomfort is needed. If you need to break through, discomfort is needed. It's not going to always feel comfortable, but the goal is don't abandon yourself while moving through discomfort. That's really the huge distinction. So basically, let me go by explaining it this way. So healthy expansion is 1, challenging yourself gradually. 2, staying connected to your body. 3, building capacity slowly. 4, allowing rest. 5, practicing safety alongside growth. 6, self-compassion while stretching. Versus, let's go with the nervous system overriding. Nervous system overriding looks more like 1, constantly forcing. 2, burnout cycles. 3, ignoring body signals. 4, shaming yourself. 5, saying I should be over this. 6, pushing until exhaustion. So one often leads to sustainable healing, and the other often leads to collapse, avoidance, or shutdown. So the nervous system changes through repeated experiences of safety and not repeated experiences of overwhelmed. That doesn't mean avoiding growth. It means that basically pacing, integration, and gradual expansion. So basically it's like a muscle. So you're strengthening this muscle. So sometimes healing is not bulldozing through fear. Sometimes it's just showing your nervous system that you can experience something new without abandoning yourself in the process. So, but I'm going to kind of relate this a little bit to, I guess, tie it back to the beginning of my podcast where I talked about my surgery. And this honestly is allowing me to take time off and to rest and to recuperate and not forcing it. And, because at the end of the day, you need to listen to your body and do what's best for you. It's okay to take a little time off, but don't be fully avoidant. But once it's time to go back in, you get back in and you do the thing. But also it's just nervous system healing. But all of it at the end of the day is healing and allowing yourself to be you and putting your health first. And knowing that, that your nervous system can resist change if it doesn't feel safe. And just to recap, we covered a lot of why your nervous system resists change is fear of success, fear of visibility, and even I included different ways that people self-sabotage. I talked about familiar pain versus unfamiliar growth, and I talked about nervous system conditioning, how these all can truly help. And a lot of it, like I said, it's about beliefs and working through your belief systems and, making your nervous system feel safe and protected. And a lot of that is regulating your nervous system and telling your nervous system it's okay. And unfortunately, when you grow, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. But I promise you it's worth it. And it's not about burnout. It's not about posting 20 videos a day. But it's about showing up consistently for yourself and putting your health and your needs first. Because at the end of the day, that's truly what matters. If nobody's taking care of you and you're not taking care of yourself, then you're in deep trouble. You really are. But anyways, I wanted to thank you all for your patience while I was healing and recovering. I still am recovering, but it's getting easier. But I'm going to keep the podcast coming. Like I've said, I have several guests that are coming on within the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I'm really excited about it. I love collaborating with other people. I love hearing other people's story and how other people experience life and their stories. And just, I feel like there's always things that you can learn from other people. Nobody knows everything and has all the knowledge. And so people can learn so much things from each other if you just truly get out of your ego and allow that and truly listen and listen to understand and not listen to respond. But also, please feel free to go to my website at thekellyhealingproject.com. I've actually, been working on kind of redesigning it, not necessarily redesigning, but restructuring it, making it look, maybe flow nicer. It looks a lot better. I'm really, really pleased with it. So that's, been a work in progress, and thinking about possibly doing a newsletter as well. That would be fun. Just kind of, working on it, taking it day by day, and, just showing up, but not overwhelming myself, because I do have a lot of responsibilities right now. I know I can handle it, but but I'm thoroughly just so grateful for everybody listening, and just know that you can experience such a beautiful life. I promise you that this is not. I'm not gatekeeping this. I'm not, you can have and experience this, but nobody's going to heal it for you. You have to physically do the work. There can be people that can show you this is how you do, and get you started on that journey, but it's not impossible. I can help you. I have coaching. I offer coaching. So if you go to my website, you can book a free consultation. So we can talk more about your goals and kind of set up a plan, see if it's a good fit. And once you're ready to schedule, I have a scheduling link on my website as well, at the Kelly Healing Project. And also, if you have any questions or suggestions, or even you want to be a guest on this podcast, feel free to email me at the Kelly Healing Project at gmail.com. I'm more than happy to listen and respond. To respond. And I really would love to have more astrologers and that kind of thing on my podcast. That would be amazing. But, I do have, like I said, I do have one coming in January, which I am so thrilled about. I'm so excited. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up real quick, guys. I really appreciate all of you for listening, and please excuse the feedback, but for listening and tuning in. And until next time, take care, guys. Have a wonderful day. And I can't wait to talk to you next time. Take care. Have a good day. Bye, guys.